are vital to our global outreach, enabling us to take the love and hope of Jesus Christ to those who need it most. Our Boots on the Ground Partnership Program physically ministers to those in desperate situations all over the world. The Israel Partnership furthers Kim's legacy of outreach to Israel and Jewish people worldwide. We invite you to become a partner today. Join us today and be part of a community that inspires hope, brings restoration to life, and often healing from the past. Together, we can make a difference, and we thank you for your ongoing support.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this is a special broadcast we're doing today. So we're still doing Code Breakers analysis, but we're coming to you live today on the same day we do Israel Update, because today we are talking about Israel and what is happening there. So I have got Christy Desfontaine, who is the producer of our Israel Update show on every Friday on today. She's here with us, as well as Dubi Sabo. And Dubi is our correspondent from Israel. He's been giving us news straight from the ground in Israel, because we can't trust the mainstream media. As my dad prophesied, the anti-Semitism is incredible. That's risen up in the West, but there are also those of us who stand with Israel. We know what was prophesied. We know what is in the Bible, and I am so excited today to have Christy and Dubi join me. So we're going to have a look at some prophecy, and we're going to discuss this. Christy and Dubi, are you there? Let's see if we can bring them on.
Indeed.
There.
Hello.
Great. Hi, and Dubi. Oh, hello, Dubi. Now, Dubi's very far away from us, but he is. He's going to let us. He's going to fill us in today on some of the things that have been going on. And of course, Christy, welcome again. We're doing a lot of analysis, so it was definitely time to cover Israel. I'm telling you, because what's going on there. My mother called me this morning. She saw that someone had been interviewed on Fox News today and was talking about someone with Donald Trump's campaign, and was saying that if Kamala Harris becomes president, there will be no more Israel. And she was very concerned about that in regards to where we are in the eschatology timeline, but as well as just what we're seeing going on. And that does seem to be the case. What are your thoughts?
You know, Dubes, I'll go to you in a second, but I just wanted to say this. I think that we're living in a time in some ways that's unparalleled, and yet at the same time, all we have to do to know that God is the one who's fighting for Israel is to look at the scriptures. It's one of the reasons I love the Old Testament so much, because it really is just kind of unbelievable love story of God protecting and defending his people. And there have been empires before that stood against Israel. And I do think that this is a time for people who care about Israel to really step up and vote. I'm unable to, as I'm a South African living in LA, and I'm still waiting for my green card. But we have to join with what we know the will of God is. And for me, the make or break issue is always Israel. So that's something I will say for sure. But we're living in a time where the climate looks impossible. And Kim used to say that all the time about how the climate for a miracle is impossibility. And so I actually look around and go that the dividing line is so clear. And I do believe that what we're going to see is people around the world, they will have no choice but to understand and recognize that the God of Israel does still indeed live. And so I'm not going into a political analysis of anything right now. I'm just saying, for me, it actually gives me hope. Yes, this woman is an anti-Semite. She is. That's what she is. But the God of Israel does live, and he's still bigger than any leader or president or king or kingdom or empire or emperor, as he has proven so many times throughout history. Dubes, I'll go to you now. But I really do believe that, the light is most important when it's dark, and it can reach the darkest of places. And so Israel's existence is not dependent on another nation. Israel's dependence is entirely based on the Lord God of Israel, who keeps his promises. So that's what I'll start with, and I'm going to throw it to Dubi.
Well, you know that usually when people are into times of important politics like elections and situations like this, sometimes people just, throw some declarations out there in the air to steer the voters and to bring them to the polls. And it's important because definitely we're seeing that this lady isn't really on the right side of history. And she is going to try and harm Israel. But as we always say here in Israel, we have overcome Pharaoh. We can overcome any unfriendly president in the White House. We've been through a very tough administration right now that is still trying to twist our arms and push us into the all kinds of different agreements now with the enemies of Israel, based on the American philosophical concept that they really control the world, and forgetting that there is the Lord God of Israel who is up there and he made his promises. And I think that nobody can really say that if there's Kamala, there's Biden, or there'll be no more Israel, because I think that if we believe in the old prophets of old, at the end times and in the end of time, there'll be only Israel, the physical and the heavenly, but there'll be only Israel, and all of us believers will be part of Israel. So just don't be afraid. Yes, go to vote for the right reason, and this is the right season to prepare for that. But just don't be afraid. Israel will always be. I trust and I put my trust in one man who was my beloved prophet, your father, who said Israel is forever. And it is true. And just by the way, Done, I forgot to tell you before, but I'm saying now, please greet your sister Libby for her birthday today.
I will. We actually celebrated with her last night, and she's getting up there. I couldn't believe it, but I will tell her. Thank you, Doobie, and thanks for saying that. That's all I could think that whole time is my dad. I could hear his voice echoing. Israel is forever.
I just remembered because you showed a little bit before the broadcast. You showed a prophecy from a sad date, August 29th, 2015. And this was a day before my birthday when we celebrated with I want to cry now, with your dad in Camarillo.
At the lake.
At the lake, yeah. And it was tough for me to see. And then thinking about birthdays, and I was reminded that my oldest son's birthday is today, and your sister is sharing the same date.
And then my son's birthday is the 28th of August. So remember,
oh, wow.
And you remember you sang in Hebrew the happy birthday to him for his first birthday.
Yes.
And it was within a week of all of that my dad had the stroke, and all of our lives were changed.
They were changed.
No, go ahead, Christy.
I would say they were changed, but the thing that really gives me so much hope is that even though I don't know that I'll ever get over the grief of losing him, I don't think I will, his words and what God showed him are coming to pass now. And that's why we're wanting to show you these prophecies, because it's not just for us to sit around and think, oh, like it's hard. It is hard. It's hard to see it. It's hard to remember it. But at the same time, it's unbelievable to me, the things that God was showing him and the things he was prophesying. And we really are sitting at a time right now where it's more important than ever that we remember in the dark what God said in the light. And God was showing him things in an unparalleled fashion. No other prophet has seen what he's seen to the extent that he's seen it, in the degree that he's seen it, that's, surrounded world events, apart from the personal prophecy side, which was always just incredible, and the personal words that God gave to people through him. What he saw for the world, for current events, for things that are going on right now, is absolutely incredible. And because we've got it dated and timed, you will see in a moment, we're going to be showing you these prophecies because we have to. God tells us constantly in scripture, remember, remember, remember. I've got the word tattooed on my arm. It's called remember, because that's something that we do as humans, is we forget. And when things are dark and hard, and they are. I'm living in California right now. There's 100 feet away from me is a homeless encampment. It's very difficult. I'm dealing with a really dangerous neighborhood. I don't want my daughter to walk around anywhere. I'm watching every time I go in and out because they're literally running drugs here and it's too expensive for me to move. So I get it. It's hard. It's dark. Life feels difficult. But it's in these moments right now that we look back, not just for the point of nostalgia. We look back because it builds our hope and it builds our faith, and it causes that fire in our bones that God speaks about in Jeremiah to really come to life and to resonate, because we know it was God speaking. And that's why we're about to show you this.
Yes, and in particular, this first prophecy we have is from December of 2014, and Dad was in Israel, and I was most interested in this because of well, all of it, but especially about what he said to Netanyahu and about Iran, because everybody's
Yes.
looking at Iran right now, like, are they going to strike? Are they going to strike? And so let's listen to this prophecy, and I'd be very interested to hear, Doobie, what you are feeling about Iran right now after
Yes.
listening to this. So let's play the prophecy, and then we'll come back.
Netanyahu, that you cannot be afraid of Iran, even though they say you should be, because America is not doing what it's supposed to do, and the United Nations is not doing what it's supposed to do. God said, since when have I had to rely upon the United Nations? And since when have I had to rely upon those, even in America, that would help you? I have stood with you right from the very beginning. And let me explain something to you. This is what the Spirit of God says. Netanyahu, I have given you the power to speak over these people. Made you a prophet. Netanyahu, hear me. It is not Iran, but look to Saudi Arabia, and you shall see what I shall do. For they are the ones that have instigated, and Russia is looking this way. So therefore I say to you, do not fear. Because God says, even as I confounded the king of Assyria, so I shall do with these same kings. I told you that I would bash their heads together, and I would bring them to nothing. Now my prophet stands here and says these words to protect and to speak words to protect this nation. Look away from America. But for a season, they have said, we are with you, but are they really? But God said, that doesn't matter. I have placed prophets to provide and to protect for you, and I, the Lord, shall make this happen. And so even as my anointing is present from Jerusalem and being released upon you now, pray. Pray, pray, pray. For even as Jehoshaphat prayed, did I not hear? As Hezekiah prayed, did I not extend years? When Gideon prayed, did I not extend years? I can go on and on, says the Lord, but should I do it? Is it not within your power to pray? So as you pray with my prophet in this week in Jerusalem, when you pray with my prophet this week in Israel, there shall be changes and shifts made, and people shall say, surely the Lord has prospered Israel once again, says the Lord.
Wow. There was a lot there. So he was saying, you know, you're worrying about Iran, look to Saudi Arabia. Now we've just seen Saudi Arabia pull out of they didn't sign the agreement on the petro oil after the 50 years expired. So we've seen that happen, but I found it interesting he was bringing up Saudi Arabia there because nobody's really looking at them. Everyone's worrying about Iran. So I'm interested to hear what both of you think, whoever wants to go first.
Go, Dubes.
Christy, okay.
You
So,
go.
thank you. You say age before beauty. I get it. Anyway, anyway, just to put some things in their place, I was right there behind that camera when he was speaking from the soil of Jerusalem, mentioning Josaphat and Hezekiah, where you've seen the background. This was the places where they dwelled, exactly where behind Kim's, when he turned around
Yes.
to the balcony over there, and right behind him was the city of David, where Hezekiah lived, where Josaphat
Yes.
prayed. The valley is called the Valley of Josaphat, the Kidron Valley, and prayer. Oh my God! Like the strongest prayer intercessors I've ever met was you guys and Kim, and from that place he speaks about prayer as a weapon, because we're speaking about that very week. And Done, I'm not surprised about what you said about Saudi Arabia pulling out from an agreement or an arrangement. He mentioned these three other nations together with Israel right now. Iran, actually four nations: Iran, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Russia. Let's put things in context. For many years, Saudi Arabia didn't have any diplomatic relationship even with Iran for many years because of the American sanctions and everything. They were part of that American alliance with oils and everything. And only this year, where all crazy stuff started to happen, all of a sudden Secretary of Iran, the Secretary of State of Iran, thank God he's not with us anymore, went to Saudi Arabia to reopen the Iranian embassy in Saudi Arabia. They're playing a double sword game. Russia and Iran in the same breath. Who would have believed that anything like this can happen? Russia and Iran were one of the biggest foes because they all compete on the same oil markets. And now they are in bed together. There are other prophecies where your dad spoke about the importance of the situation between Russia and Ukraine. And because of that situation, all of a sudden, Russia and Iran are in bed together to the extent of really risking Israel. We are in a week now that the United States is conducting all kinds of different so-called negotiations with the Hamas and with Qatar and Egypt about they want to bring a ceasefire. We want to release our poor hostages, 115 hostages of Israel still in the tunnels of Hamas ever since October 7th. And your dad depicted the right situation for this very week now that we are in now. America, are you really with Israel? We have seen that Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, sent the destroyers to the Middle East, the aircraft, the F-22s. America is with CENTCOM, are standing behind Israel, together with Israel, hoping and promising to defend Israel should Iran will strike and will attack. But is it a big bear's hug that strangles you, really strangles you? Or is it a hug that really gives you comfort? And if I trust the word of your dad and what I see out there in the field, America is trying literally to twist our arms and to stop us from fighting for the most existential war that ever we had since the War of Independence. Yeah. So every word that your dad is releasing, and who would have known all these years after with the Israeli politics that governments would topple and will go home and never come back and leaders will never come back, that now at such a time like this, Netanyahu will still be the man holding the steering wheel, will still be the prime minister of Israel, will still be the right man to speak and to talk. Who would have known? You're talking about 2014. What is it, 10 years ago? In politics, I mean, this is the democracy in America. You can be elected twice, 8 years, that's it, it's gone. And here we are speaking about the longest serving prime minister in the history of Israel, even more than David Ben-Gurion. Only for that, I'm giving all the credits in the world for your dad to be able to depict and to understand and realize that this will be as fresh as new out of the oven, to speak about these nations with Netanyahu as a leader of Israel 10 years after he was speaking and releasing crazy. His prophecy that it's exactly for such a time as this.
Yes.
Absolutely. My gosh. You know, I'm glad to hear that from you as well. And it has been frustrating seeing the way that people have treated Netanyahu, knowing, because I know what Dad's prophesied about it, and I can see what he's doing. And so it is comforting to me anyway that that we can see, okay, Netanyahu is who was prophesied. That is who God chose, and I'm seeing him doing the right thing. And it's been a heck of a fight. And the anti-Semitism, if you remember, Doobie, when we went to Europe in 2012, Dad sent us, and we went to the concentration camp, to Auschwitz, and we traveled through Europe that way. And he saw the anti-Semitism, what would happen. And it has been so shocking to see it in the West.
You spoke about that Fourth Reich. You spoke about that Fourth Reich. And Donné, I think both of us, we were devastated when we walked in Berlin and we've seen the people selling souvenirs of gas masks.
And Nazi right hats.
There. Nazi
Remember,
hats.
they were trying to put the Nazi soldier hats on me and Hannah. And we were throwing them off, saying, why are you putting that on? And it was Muslims doing it, which I could not understand that at the time.
From Turkey. I mean, Germany is definitely going down next. I mean, it's unbelievable with their very radical left concept of inclusive
Nothing
immigration and let
inclusive,
us
right?
give them a chance and let them man, there are cities and areas in Germany and all over Europe that you
Yeah.
cannot walk. Even the police don't get in because of these Muslims take
Yes.
overwhelmingly the streets and every this again. I mean, I, I cannot really cease from admiring the understanding and the depth of your father's prophecies about the
Yeah.
anti-Semitism, about what's going to go happening in Europe, how it's going to start with Israel. And then, that's the thing that the world don't see, the Islam that we are dealing with right now, calling Israel the little devil, Europe the middle
Yes.
devil, and America the big devil. And
Yes.
we still sleep on our noses and trust them, and United Nations that he mentioned that is standing for uniting nothing, that they
Hmm.
always, I mean, literally we have proven at this war in Gaza that UNRWA, which is an arm of United Nations, their
Yes.
operatives are
Yes.
direct terrorist operatives of the
Yes.
Hamas, most devastating terror organization. It's not that the United Nations are a neutral
No.
source
No.
or a neutral body.
No.
Your dad exposed them, literally put down their pants and exposed them to be the most hateful organization in the world, at least towards Israel.
Yes, and
Yes.
you know what? That's what he prophesied about the UN. He said
Hmm.
that they were a stench to God's nostrils, and that
Now we know
God would
why.
expose them, and like as if their pants were pulled down, and it
Mm.
would expose them. And I think their involvement with Hamas and the terrorist attack was a huge one. That was a big one for
Yes.
me after October 7th to find
Yes.
out that they were members of the UN and the press and the Western press participating in that. That should be
Yes.
very telling to people. And you spoke about you touched there on immigration a little bit, and we actually have another prophecy to play where Dad
Mm.
saw the enemies of America uh, being in America. And this is a really powerful word. It's about a minute and a half, not quite. So let's play that one quickly and have a
Yes.
look at that.
So, what is the foreboding sound? It is the sound of the enemies of America living in America. Those are your greatest enemies, who call themselves citizens. Please. Who call themselves citizens, but they are enemies of the cross and enemies of the nation, and they shall be dealt with. You want judgment, says the Lord? Watch. Watch the atheists. Watch. You want judgment? Then watch those that have risen up against me and said, perhaps we shall embrace Ba'allah. Perhaps we shall embrace that religion. Maybe we shall embrace Sharia law. Ha! I laugh at you because the spirit of Elijah is in this nation, and Jezebel shall not stand, says the Lord.
I mean,
That one's a little eerie.
look,
Go ahead quickly.
sorry, it's just it's I feel like these moments that happen, and just watching what Kim was saying, he was seeing a time in the future that wasn't happening on the soil of the United States at the time that he prophesied that. And what we've seen is the education system, and we've seen propaganda work the exact same way that it did in the Nazi regime. And what they've done is they've implanted, Matthew chapter 13 speaks about how the man went out and sowed wheat in the fields, but at night while he was sleeping, the enemy came through and sowed tares amongst the wheat. And we've seen that happen where there's been this infiltration into the soil of America in terms of humanity. And there's these enemies that have risen up because you've got American people identifying the very thing Kim said would happen, which he saw, which was they're going to call that religion mine. And even that he said, Ba'Allah. He's speaking
Yes.
about Islam. And you're seeing American people who grew up in America, who are living, who've got all the benefits of America. The fact that they're even allowed to burn an American flag is testament to the fact that there's freedom in this nation. And what I'm seeing there, and I'm just going to take a moment quick, Donna, and then I'll hand it back. but something that's just, it's becoming more and more apparent to me. And I've had people emailing in and giving testimonies about how they've been prompted to give. But I really want to take a moment now to encourage everybody to sow into the future. I know it can seem counterintuitive to look into the past, listen to a word that was given, and think, how is that sowing into the future? The fact that God showed Kim 10 years ago what was going to take place 10 years into the future, when we sow into this now, when we sow into Israel, when we give in defiance of that spirit, we're giving into the future and we're giving into eternity. So I'm encouraging you, there's a scan to give QR code that you can click. You can text gift in any amount to 43965. You can follow the player on the bottom of your screen. But I'm really encouraging you. I'm not going to be long. I'm not going to talk about this for a long time, but I just sometimes have these moments where I'm like, I really feel now is the time. And again, I say it every single time I'm speaking. I am not claiming to be a prophet. I am not like him. I don't believe anybody is, not to the degree that he was. I understand there are people that move in a prophetic gifting and that function in the office of prophet, but I do not believe anybody else stands even close to where Kim stood. But what we're doing when we give in these moments is we're speaking in defiance of the spirit that is coming and standing and saying, it's the same way that the enemy said right back in the day, whether you look at Isaiah 14 or Ezekiel chapter 28, I will ascend. There were the 5 I wills of the enemy, this desire to become magnified and become like the Most High. We're seeing a spirit in this nation that is wanting to ascend above, and the foundation of this nation has always been Judeo-Christian values. And we as the Christians, we as those who are the remnant, we as those who are the warriors of the new millennium who've been following these words, and whether you've known about Kim for many years or whether you're new here, when we give, there's something in our giving that substantiates, our offering substantiates our faith. And so I'm encouraging you to give. Kim used to talk about $5 in your face offerings. It doesn't matter what you're able to give, but it's an act of faith. It's bringing an offering to God, saying, I'm trusting you and I'm standing with you on that word that the prophet gave. I'm standing with you and I'm believing in faith. And as I give, it's an act of faith. It's an act of faith that substantiates the offering and brings the blessing of God down. So I'm encouraging you to do that. Like I said, I'm not going to take longer than that, but I really believe that now is the time for us to stand with Israel like never before. And not only do we stand with Israel, but when we do that, when we give based on what God showed his prophet all those years ago, we're standing in defiance of the spirit that is trying to take down the United States of America and trying to take down Israel, because our battle is not against flesh and blood. It's against principalities and powers and rulers of this dark world. But those principalities and powers take on human form, and they utilize human beings like puppets to do their will. And that's what we're watching happen. So give, sow, do it in faith, and trust God that he's going to break the spirit that is trying to take down the United States of America and Israel. And I'll give it back to you now, Donna.
Thanks for sharing that, Christy. And also, anybody, if you want to allocate your funds to Israel, we do support Israel. You will have that option if you're on. I think it's if you're on the website. Is that correct, Christy? I don't know if you
Yes.
can do that with the text to give, but if you go into the website and you want to support Israel, we do. And so if you look at the bottom of the screen, there is a QR code. I know not everybody likes using them. So if you don't mind using a QR code, you can find it there. Otherwise, go to kimclement.com or houseofdestiny.org,
Yes.
and you can allocate funds to go to Israel. I just wanted to make sure to say that. Another thing
Yes.
is someone here in the comments was talking about how my dad prophesied about North Korea and Iran. And I just wanted to say something here because it made me think of something. Tim Crane, thank you. What Dad actually saw with the BRICS is he saw Putin and 4 others. And that was on December 14th of 2014, which was just a few days before that first prophecy that we played for you. And he saw the BRICS nations. And ultimately what he saw was that they would begin to turn on one another. You know how Doobie was just bringing up about Iran and Russia would not traditionally have been friends, or China and Russia. And so Dad really saw a lot of problems with Putin and what he was going to do. And he saw that one of the things he saw, as Tim Crane pointed out to us here, is that North Korea and Iran would bash their heads together, there would be a fight. And what would start to happen is that the way Dad prophesied it, he said, while those cats and dogs are fighting, America will prosper. And, in this day and age, and the things that we are experiencing now in this moment. um, a few years ago, I had posted that prophecy on YouTube. This is years ago now. I posted that prophecy with Iran and North Korea, and people in the comments mocked it, and they said, "Why on earth would Iran and North Korea not get along? Why would that happen?" And this was, again, I think more than 5, 6, maybe even 7 years ago that comment happened. And so as time has passed, we've seen with the formation of BRICS and the alliances of these countries that you wouldn't have expected in the past, their goal being to crash the dollar and not have that, to take over that role in the world, using gold to back their currency. What Dad ultimately saw in regards to that was, again, like I said, that they would start to fight one another. While those cats and dogs are fighting, America will prosper. And another thing that he saw was a topic of great interest right now is energy, a new kind of energy, how it would be discovered because of volcanoes, earthquakes, and things like that, and that the earth would yield of its produce. That there would be a discovery that would not only help financially, but would reveal the cures for Alzheimer's, autism, cancer, neurological disorders, and things like that. And so we've been watching, and these prophecies that I've just quoted to you, there's about 10 of them. So I couldn't play them all for you right now, but if anybody's interested, you can go to kim.tv, or you can go to kimclement.com, or go to any of our social media, and you can watch the broadcasts where we share these prophecies, and join us live like we're doing now. And again, on Sunday, I'll be live for Code Breakers Live. Keep coming back and joining us for this, because then I can, sometimes I can find those prophecies and play them for you later. But ultimately, I wanted you guys, everybody, to see that, the way we're expecting things and the way the prognosticators will put things toward you can be very frightening. And what we have here today is hope for you, that God has, used my father for his entire life as a voice, and it's an undeniable gift that he had. And because his track
Yes.
record is so good, we can say, okay, well, we have these things now that he saw. And my
Yes.
dad's not even here anymore with us. God gave that to us in this
For
moment,
hope
in this time, to have hope. To, as
and
Dad
faith.
prophesied before, also another 10 years ago prophecy: in darkness, faith grows; in despair, faith grows. God has allowed some of this to go on, even the Biden administration and what happened,
Yes.
so that more could be exposed, so that more of his people can be woken up, as it's become. Not to be
Yes.
woke, but to wake up is what we're doing.
Yes.
And so that's why we come to you the way we do, and that's why we're sharing these prophecies with you today. So it was very insightful,
Yes.
Doobie, especially to hear from you. Christy and I are here, but it's nice to have you. It was lovely to have you join us today,
Also,
because
the thing is, Doobie was there.
that's what I was about to say. He's there in it
Every
with my
single one
father.
of these. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to add something just to maybe, bring things a little bit back to the context of Israel, but of course rely on what you spoke about North Korea, Iran, and Russia. Uh, how would they fight Iran and North Korea? What they're going to fight about, the dogs and cats fighting? But this is what's happening right now. This last 2 weeks, we have seen that both North Korea and Iran are literally fighting on getting the attention of Putin. Just this week, and last week, the North Korean Kim Jong Un, together with Putin, they reaffirmed their strategic alliance between them, and North Korea wants to come, deeper and deeper into that alliance with Russia and provide them with missiles and weaponry. While Iran, this was their strategy ever since the war with Ukraine started, and Iran took the primacy in the first place in being a provider of weapons and all kinds of different missile technologies to Russia. And definitely, this is not going to end very well, because these two sides, everyone wants to get the attention of Putin, and of course they compete over, the Russian oil, the Russian gold, the Russian money, the Russian attention, and definitely, I'm foreseeing some clashes between these two different, I would say, interests. and Israel is watching that situation very closely right now, because we have to realize and understand that while these nations are sharing this intel, this information, this knowledge, this capacity of production, that's what the West lacks, is the capacity of
Yes.
production, because we are not enslaving people. In North Korea, in Iran, and Russia,
Yeah.
people are literally slaves.
Slavery.
They work for peanuts, for nothing. This is
Yes.
modern age slavery, and they can
Yes.
just decide that they will work from dawn till night and manufacture thousands and hundreds of thousands of rockets and missiles, while we have to pay big
Yes.
cash to the
Right.
people to do this production and everything. And that's another way that they want to take down the dollar. If we want to compete with their their arm competition, who's going to arm each other more, the West is going to pay a lot of money to try and compete with the production ability of tyrannies, tyrants. So that's what we're facing right now in terms of the economy. And just to bring things back into the table with Israel, if those nations together are going to use all these abilities and production, we already heard that Putin said now what he never dared to say before, that he backs up the Palestinian state and he backs
saw
up
that.
Iran in the Putin called it straightforward, and he said we back up Iran right now, and all these axes of evil. Israel and America should really look very careful on that competition, because it's not going to end up very easy. And a lot of
Yeah.
people are asking me, okay, we're sowing into this amazing ministry, and what are we doing with their money? And first and foremost, and before anything, there's so many people that are watching us all the time, instead of watching the lying, deceitful channels of the general media to get their information. And we are working hard production to educate the people, Judeo-Christian values, to reach those people that it's very hard to reach them, to teach them how to pray, how to stand on the right side, how to sin, how to give interpretation to so-called, sometimes people say, oh, these are naive protesters who are standing only with the poor underdogs, the Palestinians. When you burn an American flag and put kafia on the statue of George Washington, you are not naive. You are trying to change the narrative of this nation. This is the big fight that we're heading. We are not, with all the money and all the finances and resources that CNN and all these other huge bodies of media are having to reach the multitudes. And with our little resources, we want to penetrate this darkness and bring light and teach the people what's the truth. We're bringing you content from Israel. We're bringing you the truth from the ground, the things that could never be produced. We're supporting Christian ministries, helping other ministers, Jewish synagogues, Israeli defenders. We're doing a lot with your finances to literally put the people strong and firm and be able to wage war against all these powers and principalities that are trying to destroy us. And I would like to challenge some of our viewers, the people that are standing literally with Israel. You know that with Kim, we established the Israel partnerships, and our code was you're giving chai, you're giving life, you're giving 18th. I want to challenge you to tell us. This would be easy for us to know how you want to allocate your money. Just give us, if you can, in increments of $18, $180, 72, 1800, whatever. Give us in increments of 18. We'll know that you're dedicating this directly for Israel, to stand and defend Israel defenders, and just to show yourselves and show us that you are on the right side of history right now, when God is literally calling you not only to pray, but only stand with your finances, so we can move in that spirit and change the narrative of these people. Because if it's already been able to infiltrate the universities, the Ivy Leagues
and
of the colleges and universities and the campuses, as if this is something naive and not harmful, and being liberal and standing with the poor people, it's not true. It's violent, it's vicious, it's vulgar, and
it's demonic.
We will be victorious, not them.
Absolutely. Amen to that, Doobie. And
Amen
yes,
to that,
anybody,
Dubes.
if you haven't given an offering yet today, if you want to support Israel after you've watched this, and if you're already watching Israel Update, or if you don't, you should. Increments of 18. That is a beautiful way. I'm so glad you thought of that, Doobie. That's a beautiful way for us to allocate these funds as well. So anybody who's given to Israel, you want to make sure that we are using it toward Israel, then you can give in increments of 18, like Doobie said. That's beautiful. I love it. And he's right. We are working against a media machine that is funded by the people who wish for the destruction of America and Israel, who hate America and Israel. Like Doobie said earlier, if you go over there, they call us the
The
great
big
Satan
devil.
and the little Satan, right? Or the big devil and the little devil. And so a lot of Americans who are out there thinking they're rooting for an underdog have been deceived. And it is a dangerous, dangerous deception, because I remember Dad prophesying about them wanting to change the name of Israel and change the
Yes.
name of America. And
Yes.
you see them in the streets doing exactly what my dad prophesied,
Hmm.
as we remembered from knowing all of these prophecies, we'll see them like little pictures in our mind. So when
Yes.
you watch the news and you see that image, it's my dad prophesied that. And I know
Yes.
you and Doobie, Christy, you and Doobie have the same experience, and a lot of people who watch and share with me tell me the same thing. And so we are banding together in this time where the media, like I said, the media machine is like a giant against us, and it is
Yes.
funded by these lunatic billionaires who
Yes, it
really
is.
are completely out of touch with what the real world is like, and they want to feel better about themselves, and they are easily deceived. And it's very dangerous, like I said. But go ahead,
I just
You
Christy.
want to
know,
add
this is,
one thing.
just one little thing. We just sorry to burst in like
No,
this,
it's fine,
but
Dubes.
you speak about those billionaires and this machine, and people don't understand at all what is their strategy. So let me tell you what is their strategy. They want to drain us dead. They think and they believe and they trust in this concept that they're gonna bring chaos and famine and all this craziness above, how they used to say, when there'll be famine and hunger, the slim will die and the fat will diet. And
Mm,
that's what they're thinking. They want to shrink this layers. I mean, we're losing the middle classes. We see already what Christy was speaking about, the homeless people, all this kind of stuff. They want to plant seeds of chaos into our
Yes.
society, so we will be decayed from within. And when I
mm.
say they, I say first and foremost those people wants to implement the Sharia laws. These
Yes.
Of course.
crazy, radical, lunatic Islamic nations like Qatar, like with their Al Jazeera. I mean, I've been seeing CNN
Yes.
lately, and 90% of what I'm seeing about news in the world is copy paste from Al Jazeera, put American subtitles, and throw
Yes.
it out
The
there.
same.
That's exactly the production that we are in their hands. They're the ones who finance all these demonstrations. They're the one
Yeah.
who pays the salaries for those universities and these
I-
professors and all these people that stands up. People has to wake up. They want to make sure that there'll be no middle class, no lower middle class. Everybody will go into poverty, and they'll be the only ones who will standing. And that's the problem that we're facing, and we're not going to let it happen. We're not going to let it happen. We'll educate the people. We'll tell them, and that's the thing, Christy, that you were saying on our broadcast, that people has to go to the israelupdate.org, because wherever you see a demonstration, a protest against Israel, don't walk by. If you stand with Israel, just even don't say anything. Stand in front of them and show them that you are
Yes.
with Israel, either
yes.
with a little Israel flag in your pocket, either with just standing in front of them and booing them.
Mhm.
Stand against these people if you stand with God.
Yes.
That is
Absolutely. And the one thing that I was going to say, Donna, it just suddenly hit me. Like I really just had a sudden burden drop on me to pray for the protection of Elon Musk. And so I'm just encouraging
Oh,
everybody out
wow.
there, what he's done. Um, the European Union tried to censor him from broadcasting the interview that he did with Trump on Twitter. And I think if there was ever anybody with a target on their back, that man is a billionaire. He doesn't need to stand up and do anything, but he went to the United Nations when Bibi Netanyahu addressed them, and he went as one of Bibi's guests.
Yes.
This man, I really believe, I heard him speaking about how he, likes the teachings of Jesus. I don't know what his belief system is, but I do know that God can use anybody.
Yes.
If God could cause a donkey to speak and speak his will, he can use any person who's willing with an open heart. And so I really just had a deep, sudden burden. Pray with us. Pray this week for the protection of both Elon Musk and President Trump, alongside praying for the protection of Israel. Pray for those men, because I do believe that they're targeted, and it's not just a physical targeting, it's a demonic targeting.
You're absolutely right.
He's also targeted by this administration right now,
Yes.
by
he is.
Kamala and Joe Biden. And stupidly enough, you can see that the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, because all of a sudden, NASA is collaborating with Elon Musk to try and bring back the astronauts to America,
back.
the big America that cannot do it alone. They need Elon Musk to partner with them and to bring these people back home. I mean, in one hand, NASA is America, this is the state of America, and they rely on him to be able, with his space program, to bring these people that are otherwise lost in space, to bring them back home, and then they target. I mean, this is this ambivalent, this double-edged sword that they try to aim against people who stands with God at this moment. It's unbelievable. And that's exactly what Satan is doing. That's exactly what the enemy is trying to do, to throw confusion and dispute. And take it from here, Donnie.
And you know what? Dad actually did speak about how it would be needed for the billionaires to help at some point. And this is what we're seeing happen. Trump is one of those. So is Elon Musk. And they are so threatened by them. They tried to shut down that interview. They have threatened with arrest. It's gotten to the point now where Britain is trying to arrest Americans for their posts on the internet. It's crazy. And so I'm comforted in the fact that Dad saw and prophesied this in advance. And I already know, without my dad, that God is, going to take care of us. But it really helps to have these specifics, to look back, to play, and say, okay, this is the nature of a prophet. The things he was prophesying were not for the moment he was alive in. They were for this moment that we are alive in right now, and it is really helping us. And you guys are right on about Elon Musk and about Donald Trump and their lives being in danger, because you are seeing on the other side, as more and more is exposed, you see the desperation of the enemy and those who are under that control. And they are panicking because if the truth is exposed, not only will they lose their power and maybe their money, but also they're some of them have committed terrible crimes, and they're afraid. And so you're dealing with an enemy who is now cornered, exposed, and afraid. So expect to see some lashing out, some craziness go on, but we will continue to pray for the protection of the people that God has chosen. And luckily for us, we have some names, because Dad actually prophesied a little bit about Elon Musk too. And so I'll have to go up and look them up again. But I remember him prophesying about Tesla and sending Sunil over to the Tesla offices. So I'll have to go and dig that footage up, and we'll have a look at it. Okay, but you guys, we are actually out of time. We've actually gone over time. And of course, everybody watching, I know this isn't a normal thing we do. We don't normally go live on a Friday. We normally do this on a Saturday, but we decided to do it today this way. And of course, this is going to play, for anybody wondering, this will play through the weekend. And then Sunday, I will come to you live again. I have the Alpha Vets joining me this week. We're going to talk prophecy again. And they've got a whole different perspective, a whole bunch of different topics we're going to discuss on Sunday. So make sure you come back and join us for Code Breakers live. It'll be on the social media channels that you are watching from now. But you can also go to codebreakers.news. And again, thank you to Christy and Doobie for joining me today for this special Code
Thank you.
Breakers analysis. We're going to keep going with these. This is a very important year. It's a very important year for Israel. It's a very important year for America and for the West. And as we watch prophecy fulfilled, we know where to pray, we know how to pray, and we know that we're going in the right direction. Is it this way? Is it that way? It's such darkness. These prophecies are little lights on the road, and they are going to help. They're going to help every single one of you. If God has brought you here today, you were meant to hear this. You were meant to hear those prophecies, and let it be what an incredible experience it will be for you when you see the fulfillment of those prophecies that you have heard. And so keep coming back. Again, Christy and Doobie, don't miss them every Friday on Israel Update. And Lou, stick that link back up so people can see. Do join them, because this is normally on a Friday. Doobie and Christy are there every Friday. They have been doing this for years, and we're so grateful also for you, Doobie, for taking the time and the effort that you do to keep us informed. And
thank you. I also just, everybody on the chat, I wanted to say hi, special hi to Tina Savilli. You know why, Tina. Thank you for being with us. And for the person from Durban who was watching, hello. So we have been reading. Thank you to everybody for joining us. We wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. So we just wanted to send everybody love and say thank you for joining us today and for being here with us.
I just want to say to everybody, because this is, the most blessed day of the week. And this is the day that God put aside for all of us to dwell in him and to get closer and to bring the presence of God into our homes, into our Shekinah. Shabbat Shalom to everybody. May the Lord God of Israel keep blessing you, your homes, your households, and just, every endeavor that you're doing. Try to take a little bit of rest, family time on this Shabbat, and just reflect on what we were doing here, because this is all for you. We want you to really, really understand God's burden about us and how he cares for us, and how much we love him and how much we praise him. This is the day to do that. Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Oh, thank you for reminding us. Thank you so much, Doobie. Okay, everyone. We'll be back here next week. I think it'll be Saturday again. I don't know, but just stay tuned to our social media. You guys will find us. We're just, whatever happens, we'll just keep coming live to you if we have to. And we're just going to keep doing this. So thank you so much. Thank you, Josepha C., who donated $100. Wow. Thank you so much for that. Let me click.
Thank you so much.
It really means a lot to us to have this support. Again, we're fighting against some giants, but we know they will be slain. And so, today we're going to remind everybody also, before we go, Israel is forever. Don't forget that. And we'll see you next time.
Amen.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my two best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. Don't delay, order today.
Of Destiny are partnering with you to let our viewers, of course, know about your company. It's Beverly Hills Precious Metal.
Andrew, explain how that works.
So I'll walk you through it right now. So if you go to bh-pm.com, right there on the homepage, you'll see a form that you could fill out. And that form is very important in letting us know how we can help you. So you just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number. There's a section that says, how did you hear about us? And in there, put Kim Clement. And then there's a portion where you could write a couple of notes down on the bottom. Usually within about 24 to 48 hours, we'll contact you. And then by phone call, and then we'll go over everything with you. This isn't a high pressure deal. We always recommend that if you feel uncomfortable, take a step back, pray about it, you will gain the answers that you need by doing that, and come back to us when you're comfortable.